Hello and welcome to part 3 of my SSD upgrade, and this is also the final part in this series, but at any point if you want to watch the previous 2 parts or just any parts of this series, you will find the links down in the description below to all 3 parts except for the part you're watching. So if you want to watch the other parts, you can find the links in the description. Anyway, what I will be doing in this part is firstly creating a Windows installation media, then I will be installing a clean installation of Windows 10. I will then go about downloading and installing all of the drivers that my motherboard, graphics card and new SSD actually require in order to work efficiently. And once I've got all of those drivers downloaded and installed, I will then go ahead and download and install all of the programs that I would typically use on a daily basis. Finally, I will run some speed tests on the new SSD, and then I will be able to show you the speeds that I'm getting. And as a little spoiler alert, I can say I am very impressed with these new speeds, but I can't do a direct comparison because my previous SSD failed, which means I'm not upgrading because I want more speeds. I'm more upgrading because my old SSD has failed, so I don't have any other option. Now let's get into me creating my Windows installation media. And now I have created that media installation, I can finally move on to me configuring my BIOS and reinstalling Windows. Okay, now I need to go into the BIOS. So the first thing I'm going to do is reset all to default. Let me disable that. And it says the BIOS mode, set that to just UEFI, advanced PCIe. PCIe subsystem settings, PEG1 PCIe E4. Make sure you set M.2 source link to auto. M.2 source link is on auto. I have no idea what I'm doing here, so I'm just going to set those to Gen 3. I'm going to leave that disabled because I'm not sure what that is. That's just that. Well, it doesn't use SATA, it uses PCIe, so I'm just going to leave that as is. USB configuration, I don't think that would matter. Right, I think that's everything. It's detected the drive there. So I'm just going to F10 save configuration, and in fact, yeah, I'll do that and then I'll manually go into the boot menu. It's detected the drive in the BIOS, so hopefully it's detected in the boot menu. So it's detected my Samsung M.2 SSD in the top one, but as there's no OS installed, then I'll need to go and select the Kingston Data Traveler, which is where I have created the ISO to reinstall Windows. UK, my time and currency UK keyboard is actually a US keyboard. Next, install now. I'm hoping it works. If it doesn't work, then I have no idea what to do, because this is my first ever time installing to a M.2. I have a product code, but as it's already registered, I don't need to input it again. It is for Windows 10 Pro 64-bit. So let me zoom the camera out a bit so you can better see. It was detected. Thank you. It's detected. 500 gigabytes in size, near enough. That is the M.2 drive, because that is the only drive in the system, and I know that's not the USB drive because the USB drive is only 16 gigabytes. Oh, and I just kicked the camera. But yeah, that's the drive I want, so let's click next and go from there. Right, so the installation has now started, so I'll just time lapse this bit and be back when it's finished. So now Windows has finished installing, and I'm now at the stage to where I can begin setting it up for a user, in this case myself. So yes, the UK is correct. I believe I already told you the keyboard layout, but it is US. So why didn't it remember that from the initial setup? Because I definitely selected US, but whatever, is Windows 10. I'd like to set it up for me. I use an offline account. No, I don't want to sign in with a Microsoft account. I've already told you I don't want a Microsoft account. Well, an online account, so stop trying to force me to have one. I don't want Cortana, I don't want any of this, because this is all of that tracking stuff that people don't like, myself included. Hi, we're setting everything ready for you. I half memorised that line. It's we're getting, not we're setting. So now I'm in Windows, what I'm going to do is install all of the drivers for my motherboard, the M.2 drive and my graphics card, and then I'm going to reinstall all of my programs and stuff that I normally use so that I can just have the OS set up for my everyday use. I'm not going to record all of this because it will take a very long time, so I'll just jump cut you to when I've got it all set up and, well, ready to use. There's the software side of it complete. I have now installed all of the drivers that my computer needs, and I have also installed all of the programs that I would typically use on a daily basis. So that's it regarding the software side of it. And now what I'm going to do is run a speed test, and I will also open up Samsung Magician so I can show you which firmware version I'm using and also the interface that the SSD is with the computer / motherboard setup, configuration, whatever you want to call it. As you can now see by the screenshot I have put on the screen, on the left we have Crystal Disk Mark version 6.0.164-bit. I ran 5 tests of 1GB on the C drive, which is the only drive in the system, that is the newly installed SSD. And for the sequential reads I'm getting 3,567 megabytes per second, or in gigabytes that is 3.567 gigabytes per second, and for sequential writes I am getting 2,506 megabytes per second, which is 2.506 gigabytes per second. I'm not going to read out the other speed tests, but they are there, so do feel free to pause the video and read them in your own time. And now moving over to the right, you can see I have opened up Samsung Magician and it has detected the 970 EVO 500 gigabytes. And regarding the firmware version, it is using the latest version as of the time of this recording. And then going down to the bottom left of Samsung Magician, we can see the interface, which is what I configured in the BIOS. So in the BIOS I went in and selected Gen 3, if you remember that from the start of the video. And as you can see, the interface is PCIe Gen 3 X4. The driver it is using is just the standard one from Microsoft, so that will just be the one that Windows Update has discovered and downloaded. Trim status is enabled and rapid mode is not supported, but I never used rapid mode either because my previous SSD had rapid mode and I never used it. And now in the very bottom left of Samsung Magician you can see the total capacity is 466 gigabytes, also known as 500 gigabytes due to the way computers recognize gigabytes and the way they are just generally calculated. So the advertising gigabytes is always going to be higher than what the computer recognizes. And I think that's really it for this screenshot. But do feel free to pause the video and look over it in your own time. That is all for this part, and it is also all for the series because this is the final part in the series. Now if you want to watch the other 2 parts, there will be a link in the description, but as I've already said, that is the end of this part and this series. So if you have enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you haven't, give it a dislike. Consider subscribing to see future uploads, and as always, thank you for watching.